And we are live. Hello, Sober Nation, on another Thursday night at 9 p.m. We are here every week. This week, Veronica is not here. We gave her the night off. And I have my friend here, Jason Hyland. How are you, Jason?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Tori.
Of course, of course. So, for those of you who don't know Jason, he's extremely involved in the recovery community in Boston, and he has a lot of stuff going on. He's going to be a speaker at TEDx in Boston, and he's currently running in the cold weather, training for the Boston Marathon to raise money for a nonprofit human services organization. He's also an author. Jason, what aren't you?
I'm sober, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. And he's actually a regular contributor on Sober Nation. Some of you have probably seen some of his articles, but how did you get into writing? How did you get into doing all this service and doing what you love?
Well, it's not the route I expected to take in life, I'll tell you that much. But July of 2017, like the miracle happened. I can't explain it, but I finally got into treatment, and I brought a notebook with me because I knew I'd have a lot of time in my hands. And I just journaled, typical journaling, like what was going on in the day, what we had to eat, how I was feeling, like nothing like too extravagant. And then I wrote a story about what my day used to be like, my mornings when I was waking up in active addiction. And it brought me right back to that. It basically, I felt all five senses. And so when I moved on to a 6-month program after a month in detox, I showed it to a counselor, and she said, like, she felt the same way and really encouraged me to continue writing. And so I just put it out there. I'm going to write a book. And it just snowballed from there. Like everything, the thing was, at the place I was staying at, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have internet, we didn't have computer access,
Right.
didn't have cars. So it was in the middle of winter, and I'd have to walk to the library to transfer whatever I wrote down, onto Microsoft Word. And I just did that every day. And
Wow.
it just became like a mission, because what I realized after I put it out on December 24th is when I put it out there that I was in recovery and had rehabbed. And so people started reaching out to me, and more. And I was like, wow, this is a lot bigger than me. This is so much bigger than me in my journey, even though writing was my therapy initially. And it still is.
Sure.
But I realized that it was meant for such a bigger audience and to really help others. And that's just been the theme since. And I found that I loved writing, and I still do. And it just, it's a great, like I said, it's therapy. It gets me away from everything, gets me out of everything. And then things that I never said or was too scared to say, I can always put down now on paper onto the computer.
Yeah. I think that's really important. And for those of you who are watching, when we get sober and some of us who start journaling or writing, and then when we put it out there, it's like so many other people can relate to it, right? I mean, I had no idea that other people could relate to me when I put my thoughts down on a piece of paper, but here I am. And so there's when you first emailed me, the first article that you had submitted to me was about a breakup letter to alcohol. So you kind of personified alcohol as your friend, lover, whatever. I thought it was so powerful, and I know a lot of people did resonate with it. And I'll post it in the comment thread. I mean, what was that like, writing that, and how did after you posted it and people responded to it, what was your reaction like?
Well, it was actually an assignment that I had
Okay.
at the program I was at. And what it was, we were supposed to write to our drug of choice.
Uh-huh.
And then the next, house meeting that we had with that specific counselor, we sat around basically a fire, and we'd read it and then burn it. And I wrote that entire thing while sitting in an AA meeting on a Sunday morning. It was one of those things that just came to me, and I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's still my favorite piece that I have written, and it was way back at the beginning. You know, I feel my writing has definitely evolved since then, but for some reason, that piece in particular, you know, it resonates with a lot of people. And as I've seen from obviously the Sober Nation post and just from posting it myself, and it's because I feel people can relate to being, having a relationship with their drug, that drug is, or drink or drug is what, controls their every move, and it becomes part of their everyday life and becomes your best friend. And that's what it absolutely was for me. And I made sure once I found out we were going to burn them, I'm like, hold on, I got to go make a copy of this. I need to keep this for, I was proud of that. And I wanted, I want to have it so I can remember, if, my mind, goes astray, I can go back and read that and remember what, alcohol in particular did to me.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
I know when I got sober, someone gave me this book, and it was actually like this published book, and it was called My First Year, like I was a toddler, like, oh, day one, like what do you feel like? Day two, what are you grateful for? But it was really cool, and still I look back on it, and I'm so glad I have that. But I just want to say hi to a couple people. Tiffany, Dee Dee says, welcome, Jason. Charity is watching from Vacaville, California. Rebecca, Crescentia, hello. James, Geraldine, these are a regular here. And Casey, hello. Hello to everyone. Happy Thursday night. Hope you guys are having a great week. And if you're watching the replay, thank you. And we're glad you joined us. So this new piece that you have on Sober Nation, it's reacting versus responding. And those are two completely separate things. And a lot of people, might not know that. I know if you've been to treatment or been sober for a while, you may have heard of that. But tell us a little bit about what is a reaction, right? And what is a response, and how can those play out?
I can say that I didn't realize there was a difference at first, till I got sober, that's for sure. And a reaction to me is when we have that natural instinct in the heat of the moment to respond, not to respond, it's instantaneous. And typically it's a bad choice because we're acting without thinking. So when we react, we're not thinking about the circumstances of what could happen. We're not playing, the outcomes of the situation. We're just going off of, if it's something, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back, eye for an eye type thing. And instead, if we start responding, that's where we actually take the time, gather our thoughts, think about what could happen if I do it this way, if I do it that way. And that's why I give the example in the piece, because that was the perfect, for me, that was like, wow. That was the moment where there was three big moments in early recovery that I realized things were changing for the better. And that was one of the three. And it just showed me that, by having a clearer head, rather, the fog was starting to release. I was starting to, use judgment, something that I completely lacked, while actively. There was just no judgment. I don't care about the consequences. I want what I want. Give it to me now. I'll worry about the stuff at the end. And you know what? I'm still paying for that to this day. To do my taxes, all of it went to stuff I already owed. I was on hold for 42 minutes today, and with the IRS, and then he explained where my money went, and I'm like, 2015 that went back to. So that's because I didn't care about the consequences. I didn't, that was just reacting. I needed this. I'll worry about things later. And to me, that, majority of the time, it's always going to be, the circumstances are going to be negative, and, there are going to be consequences.
Right.
So what I write about is, mindfulness, by practicing mindfulness, which really is just, just getting in the present, getting into the moment, because that's all we have. And that's one of the biggest things for me in my recovery. It took me years to understand the one day at a time aspect. My best friend, who's just had 10 years sober, actually, this month, he would always, if I was hinting at it, throw that one day at a time. And I'm like, I would think, oh, how am I going to not drink at, at my wedding day or something? Right. One day, no, I was thinking so far ahead instead of realizing I just have right here, right now. That's it. What tomorrow isn't here yet. You know,
Right.
it's not, tomorrow's not promised. So by getting into the moment, which is the mindfulness, and that's something we've learned a lot about in the places that I stayed at. I did 7 months total, and again, it's just, you know, gathering ourselves, letting like everything, that the instant reaction that we wanted, all the emotions that are going through us,
Mm-hmm.
I know that we would have reacted towards typically. We can, you know, gather ourselves and
Right.
let our brain think, and let, you know, just clear our mind almost. And okay, now this is what's going to happen if I do this. This will happen if I do this, and so forth. So responding has worked as, it's a vital tool for me. And I just did a podcast yesterday about something that happened too.
Okay.
About I didn't react, and it was about I could have sent a response. You know, it's like one of those, you get an email and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna. But it was,
Oh yeah, all the time.
and you know, we regret hitting that send button.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully I didn't do that. I didn't say what I wanted to initially say. You know, that pent up frustration, didn't put it out there. Instead, I, you know, realized if I do that, these are going to be the, you know, the potential consequences of the actions. So
Yeah.
it's just, it's vital for me at least to make sure I'm not reacting, because before, like I said, it would be just do whatever I wanted.
Right.
Who cares about everyone else and whatever harm I may do in the way.
And I think that's so, you know, when we do get sober, it's such a blanket. I mean, when we get sober, we face these consequences, right, that we've been putting off for a long time. I mean, whether that be health, you know, financial, with our family, and then we have to relearn how to do this and start responding. But like, how do and mindfulness, right? It's so easier said than done. But when I'm in that moment, right, when someone catches me off guard and I want to like cuss them out, because believe me, I have done that before. I'm not thinking about, oh God, I need to be mindful right now. You know?
Yeah, it's certainly easier said than done. And there, you know, there are times that it's still going to happen. Where our natural instincts going to give way. Mm-hmm. But the more we can practice it, and practicing mindfulness doesn't have to be in this like a moment of action. It can be something like meditation, for instance, is really just grasping the moment. That's right. An example of mindfulness. And the more, just like anything else, the more we do something, you know, it becomes habitual. And mm-hmm. that, once, you know, it really becomes a habit, we don't think about doing it, it just happens. Mm-hmm. And that's how a lot of my recovery has been, is just doing something over and over and over, so that it becomes habit. So that I'm not thinking about, you know, the other choice I would have made prior, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when, you know, for those of you that are watching, like if you're new at this, or if you're, you know, a veteran, I mean, it feels so uncomfortable at the beginning, right? Trying to flip that script or flip that switch. I love what Charity said. She says, love versus fear, respond versus react, healing versus pain, flipping all scripts. And it's so true, because, you know, when we get sober, we do a 180.
Yeah.
And Casey says he has to run to Home Depot. God bless everyone. God bless you, Casey. Charity also says, if I think I can't be mindful, I am right. And if I think I can be painful, I am right. Total opposites. And one thing that you did mention at the beginning of the article is talking about happiness, and we deserve, you know, so much more than we realize. You know, I mean, we realize that dreams we thought that were once dead are now achievable, right? So how did you kind of, I mean, you have a lot going on, like, you know, I mean, I don't know how you're doing this right now, but you have a lot going on. How did you kind of break through that? And I don't know if you felt any fears, you know, before you started writing your book, or, you know, having fears doing a TED Talk. I mean, that's pretty big. How, you know, and even just little fears. I mean, how do you walk through that?
Well, one thing I realized early on is that I already went through the worst pain of my life. Mm-hmm. By, you know, being in that cynical cycle, is what I call it, cynical cycle of addiction. Nothing will ever be worse than that. No matter how much pain I'm going through, how much, you know, tears I may have to shed, I know it'll never be worse than it was. Mm-hmm. And I've kept that mindset literally from day one. So that eliminates any type of fears, because and I truly believe in that I'm I'm not okay with failure, but I know it's going to happen. So I
Mm.
don't fear possible outcomes that may be negative or failing, because I use that as a growing opportunity. And a lot of what my mindset came from, I pretty much brainwashed myself in early recovery. Read almost 30 books in like the first 5 or 6 months, on top of writing, and it was all
Right.
on personal development, self-help, stories of the inspiration and people overcoming serious adversities and
Mhm.
so forth. And when I was at the library writing, I would have motivational YouTubes on in the background. So I was
Mm.
constantly just putting that in my mind, and I started realizing and seeing things play out. For instance, like the story I given, responding to that situation with my roommate instead of reacting.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
wait.
started
Tell us the situation for those that
so
have.
my roommate, the last roommate I had, was 22 years old, and he was the youngest in the program by far. We were 22 to 65, and I'm 35, and it was the tail end of my stay there. And I was a morning person, because
Mhm.
it was like one of the first times in my life where I couldn't wait to go to bed to wake up the next morning. I was
Right.
really in that. I was in such a good mindset. It was while I was writing, and I saw like the light with the book coming. I saw where it
Right.
was going, and I was really, I was stoked for that. And so on Friday mornings, we have to be up at 6 o'clock every day. And I get up and I played music on Friday mornings, because we have to clean our rooms first thing anyways. And I was like, and he probably, I don't know why he was in such a bad mood, but he just snapped. And I could not believe, I literally, even it probably was 10 seconds or so of him yelling at me, but I was playing, like it was like I was dreaming, because I was playing through these long drawn out scenarios of what would happen if I did what I typically would have if I reacted.
Uh-huh.
And next thing I know, I didn't react at all. I just let him have his moment. And people, roommates up at the top of we're on the third floor, just separated us, and that was it. And I remember telling my counselor the next time I met with her, I was like, "That's so different." I'm like, "I'm really changing. I'm really doing this. Like, it's gonna be. I'm gonna be good when I get out of here." And I'm not that I'm not gonna be worried about some things, because there are gonna be times, like I said, I'm human. I'm gonna react. It is what
Right.
it is. But I was making such great progress, and that was a huge step for me. And we laughed about it, squashed it. There was nothing ever from that after
Right.
that incident.
Huh. And I think it's amazing too. When you want it enough, right, and you start to change your thoughts, you start to change when your thoughts start to change, your patterns start to change, and when your patterns start to change, your actions start to change. And how amazing is that?
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to ask you too was, I mean, you talked also in the article about like coming to believe and other people coming to believe that they deserve more, right? Um, how did you come to believe that you did deserve more? And I'm sure it came with a lot of thought changing, action changing. But how did you? I always like to talk to people about that point when they first realize that they deserve more. Kind of that light that switches. I mean, do you know like when that was and what was that like for you?
Well, I remember just starting when the fog was really clearing, and
Mm-hmm.
like my confidence was building, because I saw, you know, physically I was getting healthier,
Mm-hmm.
and I started, like, the self-care started to come into play, where I actually would shower, would brush my teeth, things like that.
Yeah.
So I started, just little things that we completely take for granted. And so I started realizing how much I appreciated life, how much I appreciated such little things, because again, I didn't before. And now having these things, started realizing I this is a whole new opportunity. This is like I say it's a second chance, but it's really like a 10th, 11th chance. It's my first time ever going through detox, or this is my first time, first and last, God willing, obviously. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use this to do whatever I can to better myself. And so by seeing things starting to change within me, and I realized, like I said, it was so much bigger than me because of the responses I was getting. I was like, I'm just going out there and going after what it is that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether I deserve it or not, I'm putting in the work. And
Right.
that was really when I realized it's, my mom always said, you can do anything you put your mind to. And I really put that to the test, and I was seeing the results, and I still am.
Mhm.
And from, as I mentioned, brainwashing myself, I knew the outcome 6 months beforehand. And people, of course, there were so many like haters and people calling me, just delusional was, again, I say it often, that was the number one word. I was delusional, but I
Yeah.
already knew what was going to happen. It's crazy to say, but I did. And
Yeah.
those things came to fruition because as long as I put in the work, think good things were going to happen. And I started following the pattern of, just keep doing the next right thing. So if we do that, we deserve, everyone deserves happiness, no matter what they're doing. Obviously, there's going to be those some circumstances that we don't need to get into, but they deserve happiness. And now working as a peer specialist too, I realized I start asking the why questions about why is someone in a situation that they are, like someone homeless or begging for a change. Why are they there? They deserve happiness. They went through either serious trauma or unfortunate events that they caused themselves or not. But everyone deserves to live the life that they want. But it's not just going to happen. You have to actually take action.
Right.
We can feel, oh, I deserve this, but that's living in like the poor me, blaming everyone else if things don't happen. You got to actually put one foot in front of the other and do the work still.
Mhm. Right. I mean, I've always heard like I create the life that I have today. I created, of course it was with God and with everything that I have, implemented in my life, but everything that I have today is a direct result of the work that I've done, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, and Ashley says she's been reading, you mentioned self-help books, a lot of self-help books in her 4 months of sobriety. Congratulations, Ashley.
Absolutely.
What kind of, and you, let's say this, you wrote a self-help book pretty much, but what kind of what self-help books have you read? Because I think a lot of people are interested in that too.
Well, I got when I graduated college, I
Mm-hmm.
was working for a company in Florida, and the owner and his family were really big into the positive mindset. And for Christmas, they got me Think and Grow Rich, which is a Napoleon Hill book, and that just opened up the floodgates for me to realizing that we can really rewire our brain to putting in the law of attraction
Mm-hmm.
and putting things out there. And it's like, in recovery, you just keep doing the next right thing.
Right.
It's like that mindset. And then Tony Robbins, which a lot of people at first, he was like just this guru.
Yeah.
But if you know Tony Robbins, the amount of education he has put into his work, it's amazing. And if you take ignorance out of the picture, just be open-minded about it, you'll see things are going to happen. And if they don't, what's the worst that can happen? Nothing.
Sure.
So a lot of those type of books, like Positive Mindset, that really started it. And then Chris Herron's book, Basketball Junkie, was a big one for me because
Chris Herron.
I used to go to Barnes and Noble, the one local here, and I would read as much as I could and then hide the book so no one could find it because I couldn't buy it. So it was one of those moments when my book became available in there. I was like, wow, it was just showing me like the power of what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
That it goes to show you like anything really is possible. His story is another one of those. That's that inspirational story. I have the mindset, if it's been done, it can be done again, first of all.
Sure.
And if anything is possible, it truly is. And so Tony Robbins, Think and Grow Rich, was Napoleon Hill. I read the big book twice, even though I'm not an AA person. We had to go to 400 meetings.
Woo.
In the 6 months I was at the program. Yeah, literally, we had 2 every day and then 3 on Mondays. And I read a couple. My mom's, when I was really struggling and we didn't really have we had a real fractured relationship the last 2 years or so. She would send me books on Amazon, even though we weren't talking. She'd send me books with little notes in them, which was, I'm so glad I kept those.
Yeah.
I never opened those books until I was in, detox. I brought them with me.
Sure.
And Sober as Fuck is one of them. Pardon my French, but that's the name of the title.
I've heard of that. I've never read
by
it.
Sarah. Yeah. And I actually interviewed her and put her in the book because I was like, I realized too the power of just not being afraid to ask people for things, not being afraid of the word no.
Right.
is another one, and I'm reading a book on that. The Art of No, I think it is now. And then an author, Mike Alden, who's local from here in Beverly, he has he helped me with the transition of how to go about publishing and everything.
Right.
His books are on self-help too, and it's ask more, get more. And that's again, if you just ask things, if they say no, they say no. And
Right.
my girlfriend has got me into now more like Buddhist type books. So she's big into yoga and the Western training thing, which is I love that. I love that because again it goes back to the mindfulness. She helped me with that mindfulness in regards to that piece, because I was like, what is it about responding? And she's like, mindfulness. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah. And so a couple of the books that we share, like Buddhist books, and I read one in recovery called Faith, just the word faith. And
that's all it's called, Faith.
Yeah, it was one of the best books I've ever read.
Really?
I mentioned it in my book as well. It was such a great book because it goes back to that being in the moment, staying in the present, and just realizing this is all we got, so make the most of it.
Right.
So the positive mindset books were the big ones for me that really transformed and rewired my brain to where it is now. Yeah.
That's, I mean, and so I'm just going to read the comments too. John says, The Secret is an amazing starting point for the law of attraction. Thoughts create realities. Thanks for hosting this, a true treat. John, we're glad you're here. I've read The Secret, and I read it like maybe 10 years ago, and I still live by it. I mean, that book put a dent in me, okay?
Yeah, I watched the documentary. It's on Netflix. I've watched it multiple times.
It's so good. So good. I love it.
Yeah.
And then Ashley says The Art of Living is so good. I've read that one too. It's amazing.
I've heard good things about that. I haven't read that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I don't read a book a week like I was, that's for sure, now.
Yeah. You're a little busy, so.
Yeah. Oh, The Power Now was another real. I've read that at the tail end of my stay in the program, and that was, again, that goes back to that the mindfulness, staying in the moment, and that was a great book.
Geraldine says, who was the author of Faith?
Sarah Salzberg, I believe.
Are you going to pull the book out right now?
Well, it's in my book.
Oh.
I think it's Sarah Salzberg, because I was thinking of that too. I'll find it while we're talking.
Christopher says The Four Agreements. I hope that.
Yes, I should have said that. That's right after Think and Grow Rich for me.
Okay.
Be impeccable with our word, do our best in everything. Don't take anything personally, and don't make assumptions.
I love that book.
If you follow those, your life is so much better. It's so much easier. We don't try to make a mess out of everything and over analyze everything. Just keep it very simple. Like you said before we started talking, just going to keep it simple, and that's what that book really does. And I love that book, and it's such a short read. Anyone can read that real quickly.
Oh, it's so, and I love the author, Miguel Ruiz. So good. Yes. And so just, have you read your own book?
I never read it cover to cover until after I put out like an edition or two. It was really weird almost reading it, other than because I would write a chapter. I was editing the whole time and go back and change things. But I read it I pre-released it in March, and the actual publication date that it was released to the public was June 1st. So I read it probably the last week of May or middle of May for the first time through, but I still can't do it, or I couldn't do it without making, edits and stuff. Like, this is my actual book, the one that I edited till the end.
Okay.
And, there's stuff in it that is still edited, and that's another thing I should have shared. When I was reading these books, I wasn't just reading them and putting them away. I was actually I was taking notes on these. I love that I have all these books now that I can go back to. And that reminds me of Lewis Howes, Mask of Masculinity. It's really about the male vulnerability. Vulnerability was the second. I said there's three things. Being vulnerable was one of the second big breakthroughs in my recovery, and he did School of Greatness. And again, it's stories of motivation and inspiration that can really get us through whatever it is that we're going through.
Absolutely. And
name of this
Oh, you're gonna find the author?
Yeah, okay. What chapter it's under. But
You
yeah,
wrote the book. Come on, come on.
173 or 183. I'm almost positive it's Sarah Salzberg.
And John says the Four Agreements was a true life changer. Yes, if you're watching this and you have not read that book, go. I mean, I'll ship it to you if you want me to. Email me.
Yeah, it's Sharon Salzberg, and it's called Faith.
Sharon Salzberg. Geraldine, that's for you. Well, thank you so much for you literally are a true testament of the power of positive thinking because I mean, since you got sober, there's so much that has happened for you, and since you started writing for Sober Nation, I've been following you. So,
Thanks.
So where can we find you? Where can we buy your book?
My book, Stop Thinking Like That, No Matter What, is available on any online website. Amazon obviously would be the easiest. My website is jason-hyland.com, and as you can see, it's Hyland. And then my Instagram is really where I share it with my girlfriend because she's in recovery too.
I was going to say yes, his girlfriend. Next time we're going to have both of them on.
Yeah, she's coming up on 16 months, which is it's amazing, and that we're a testament to the something. Everyone's journey is different.
Yeah,
people can find love in recovery. It's possible. It's not like I go recommend it. It's just how it happened. You can't like deny fate. Is how I look at that. But at Motivational Recovery, Instagram's the biggest way for me. And so it's at Motivational Recovery, and that's a movement per se that I started, and really I'm pushing a lot because one thing I realized in recovery, even though I was surrounded by people who were clean and sober, they weren't motivated to live the life that they deserved.
right.
And it frustrated me. I'm like, what? You're clean and sober. Now anything's possible. The world is yours. Go do what you want. Right. But there was no motivation because they were just holding on to that baggage of the past. They couldn't let go of it. And for me, taking accountability of my actions, owning up to them, and taking responsibility, that helped me get over those things. So now I can move forward. And motivation became such a big part of what I was doing, and I looked it up online. Is there anything called motivational recovery? And there's not, because I mix the two. Especially when I speak, it's a lot. Once I get going with the passion behind what I have, you can see the motivation side, but it's also it's recovery based still. At the end of the day, if I'm not clean and sober, none of this is possible. Right. So that was the little spiel at Motivational Recovery, and on Facebook.
I think too, a lot of us, when we get sober, we have the motivation to get sober, but then after that, we expect a lot of things. Expectations are high, and then we get disappointed, and the motivation kind of lags.
Life still happens. You still like bad things are gonna happen. It's just now you can have more tools to get through them rather than run into a substance, and just having motivation to live the life that one wants is just. I think it's like I said, everyone deserves it, and anything truly is possible. I'm evidence of that. I'm no one special. I just go about my day where I'm gonna try to get better than I was yesterday. It's my goal every single morning. Do whatever I can so I'm better than I was yesterday, and that means I'm making progress. Progress, not perfection.
Right.
It's huge for me, because any progress is progress. It could be very, very little, but it's still progress. You're moving in the right direction. You're moving away from that old life that you used to have, and I just, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. It takes work, like you just said. It's just not just going to be handed to you. Oh, you're sober now. Boom, here's this great life. No, it takes work.
Right. And just like you're going to run the Boston Marathon like that, right? One foot in front of the other.
Oh.
I'm so cheesy. I'm sorry.
No, but it's, I wake up at 4:30 now.
Oh,
the girl challenged me to waking up at 4:30 because that's when she has to get up. I'm like, you know what? I have to run the marathon in the morning anyways. It's not like I can run it at night when I like to. I just need this weather.
And I know, I mean, we're going a little over, but John wants to know if you have any experience with Smart Recovery.
Yes, that was and I just saw that on Friday nights at the program I was at. We had the choice of going to Smart Recovery, and one of the guys from the house actually ran it, and unfortunately, he just passed away 3 weeks ago. When he rest in peace. But Smart Recovery, what I loved about it, and a lot of guys in the house loved about it, was the fact that it was an open concept. You could bring anything to the table. You didn't have to wait, till someone was done giving us, speaking to share. Having that really the freedom to speak about anything is what I enjoyed about it. And I know a lot of the guys, it's very different than AA. And I liked it more than I liked AA. Granted, it was only one night a week, so maybe it wasn't because it wasn't shoved down my throat. But I believe in both philosophies. I don't practice the steps like with someone. I'm not I don't go to meetings, but I live by the steps anyways. Right. I feel like if you're living the life you want, you're gonna be doing for others. Still, you're gonna be owning up to what you do, and that's just part of being a good person.
Right, absolutely. And I like Smart Recovery. That's not as prominent as AA, but I've definitely learned a lot from it. So, John, I think it's smartrecovery.org is their website. So you can go there and look up meetings. Mm-hmm. But thank you so much. So Instagram at Motivational Recovery.
That's it. And Facebook, Jason R. Hyland.
Perfect. Well, and then if you're in the Boston area, he's going to be at TEDx. When is that?
March 30th at Boston College at 1:30. And that is Law of Attraction. I put that out there last year. When I was in the house, my therapist suggested watching Brene Brown's Vulnerability. I didn't know what a TED Talk was. So I went, did research. I came back and I'm like, I'm going to speak at one of these. And she's like, okay, Jason. And
here you are. What are you talking
about? Resilience.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, it was like when I saw the topic, because every topic's different for the different events. Yeah. Like I can speak on resilience. I think
you can. Just a little.
I'm excited.
And then if you're in the Boston area, go watch the Boston Marathon and watch Jason run.
It's a walk at the end.
And if you're watching the playback, we really appreciate you and glad you are here. We will be back next Thursday. Veronica will probably be here. And thank you so much, Jason. If you want to write for Sober Nation, email me, Tori at sobernation.com. You can be like Jason. Oh, you're this way. And we'll see you next week. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, everyone. Tori, thank you so much.
Of course.